We've got big news today out with consumer confidence. I'm looking at it right on my screen, and unfortunately, it's plummeting. It's kind of that honeymoon phase with Trump seems to be coming to an end. Let's do a screen share and shoot right over to this recent survey. We got it right here on Bloomberg. And this is from the Conference Board survey. And there's an index they have, and it decreased to 104. Now, the expectations, let's check that out. We'll go over to Market Watch, and we can see it is Tuesday. So consumer confidence numbers right here highlighted. The expectation was 106. We got 104, and that's down from 109. So this 109 represents last month. And that's, yay, Trump won. Oh my gosh, make America great again. The economy is going to boom. All of these tariffs are going to bring these high-paying jobs back to the United States. And because Trump is increasing taxes, that means that we're all going to get rich. Woohoo! And hey, it's the honeymoon phase. I get it. But we can see that now reality is starting to kick in because of the job market, or the lack of the job market. And the Bloomberg article we pulled up goes into that. Now, I saw in the chat, let me actually just write this down, that a lot of people are talking about this huge win for Donald Trump and tariffs. And George, we know that from an economic standpoint, you always talk about how tariffs aren't a good idea, a net negative, and yada, yada, yada. But this is just sour grapes. You're just being too strict of a libertarian. And if you just open your mind and realize that we live in the real world, and therefore sometimes you just got to expand a little bit of government here and there. And proof is Donald Trump just forcing Colombia to bow and kiss the ring with all of his tariffs and sanctions, or at least the threats of the tariffs and sanctions. And he was able to turn Petro, boom, just like that in an hour. So even if he doesn't use these tariffs or sanctions, it proves how good of a negotiating tool they are. But getting back to the Conference Board survey on consumer confidence, what's key there, which hopefully you got from what I just said, is not just the fact that it's gone from 109 to 104, but why has it gone down to 104? Why is this, the party over, and now all of a sudden we're in the hangover phase? That's key. So right here, we show charts how the consumer confidence has plummeted. In fact, in November, it was 112. See, this is when we had the election. And then since you can see what's happened, we go from 112 to 109 down to 104. So why is this happening? Again, that's key. This is the share of individuals who answered or responded to this survey that say it's getting harder to find a job. Now, we're not at the point where we were, let's just say, going into the election at 18%, but we went down in December to 15, and now we've bounced back up. So a key component of it going from 112 to 109 down to 104 is, again, the job market. And it breaks it down even further when we look at expected incomes. So this is the percentage of respondents that said they expect their incomes to increase. Again, going back to the election, 20%. We fast forward to today, and it's down almost 2 percentage points to 18.3. Now, it still is relatively high for the year, but we have to focus on the trend in which way it's headed. Share saying business conditions are good, and this has just completely dropped off a cliff. Gone from 22 all the way down to 18. So a fall of almost 4%. They say inflation is easing only gradually. And while the labor market looks good on paper, job seekers say it's taking longer and longer to find work, and sentiment has been shaky as consumers assess how Donald Trump's policies will affect the economy. I don't know about that. I don't know if job seekers or consumers are out there really thinking about, oh my gosh, what are tariffs going to do? The MAGA people think that it's going to make the economy boom. The MAGA people think that this is going to bring all these higher paying jobs back to America. It's somehow not going to lower prices because interest rates are going to come down. Donald Trump is going to force them down immediately. He demands that. as he said, and he's going to bring oil prices down. So although labor costs might go up, everything else is going to go down that goes into these inputs of the stuff we buy. And therefore, on net balance, we're not going to have any inflation. We're just going to have higher paying jobs, as if you can have that without more goods and services being created. But that's the story, right? That's the narrative. And this is, again, the main, that's why I don't think that a large percentage of Americans are sitting there analyzing Donald Trump's policies from a top-down approach, from a 30,000-foot macroeconomic level. I think what they're doing is they're just going out there, and those who are trying to find a job or talking to their relatives or their friends or coworkers, they're seeing or they're hearing, they're experiencing their own life experience is that it's getting harder and harder. And that's what's impacting their mood, or that's what's impacting their view of the unemployment picture or employment picture. Isn't necessarily Trump's policy. It's just what they're seeing boots on the ground. The share of consumers that said jobs are currently plentiful fell to its lowest month since September. Again, it's still pretty high, but we just got to pay attention to the trend. The return of pessimism, this is according to Dana Peterson, chief economist at the conference board. The return of pessimism about the future employment prospects seen in December was confirmed in January. I'll be very interested to see what happens in next month's survey. So if we see this continue, it's going to, the more we see this continue, the more you've got to start incorporating this into your analysis of the overall economic conditions. They say buying conditions for big ticket items such as cars, houses, appliances soften. That likely reflects still elevated prices and higher borrowing costs. Yeah, but I think that reflects the job market as well. Inflation expectations over the coming year increased. Other measures of inflation outlook have also picked up recently. Consumers worry about potential tariffs. Maybe. Weaker income prospects likely dampened consumers' vacation plans. I think that has more to do with it than kind of associating tariffs with higher costs. Now let's look at what Zero Hedge has to say. A lot of times Zero Hedge has some really good insights. So I kind of like starting with the mainstream media, and they kind of give you the broad overview and then getting into the nitty gritty here with Zero Hedge. So their title is Conference Board Confidence Continues to Collapse Post-Election. American consumers' confidence fell for the second month in a row. We went over that. They show a chart of exactly what the Bloomberg article was talking about. They say this 4-month low in consumer confidence, despite most other indications of confidence and animal spirits having surged. Yeah, so let's see here. Fartcoin is at 2 billion market cap, but then we have the job market deteriorating. Okay, well, I think one of those is slightly more important than the other. And I think you guys can guess which one I think is more important. So on net balance, I think that's still a bit of a negative. So here is this Dana person that we quoted, or read a quote from earlier. They say consumer confidence has been moving sideways, in a relatively stable, narrow range since 2022. January was no exception. It's weakened for a second straight month, but still remained in that range, even if it's at the lower part of the range. Okay, so that's what we were talking about before. All 5 components of the index deteriorated. The return of pessimism about the future employment prospects seen in December was confirmed. And here's a chart showing that. They talk about the big ticket items. So here's some positive things that they found in the survey. The consumers' views of their family's current financial situation were more positive, and 6-month expectations for family finances reached a new series high. Yeah, my guess is that's due to the housing market. And look, I have so many friends that literally have Zillow like on speed dial. Not literally. It's like the #1 app on their phone. Like they go to their phones and it's like boom, right there front and center. They've got it like as their homepage, and they sit there and they obsessively put refresh. So in order to get that adrenaline or dopamine rush when they see the price of their house go from, let's just say, 515,000 up to 520. In fact, I know people that change the pictures on their, even though it's not for sale, they'll change the pictures on Zillow because they think the algorithm will increase the price of what the house is worth, or what it says it's worth. And therefore that gives them that dopamine rush. So even if they don't do anything to the house, even if the house, they know that it's not worth anymore. Just the fact that they were able to kind of manipulate the algorithm on Zillow to make the price go from 515 up to like 575. They'll do that all day long because it makes them feel better. It makes them feel like they are richer, even though it's not even paper wealth. It's Zillow wealth. So I think that has a lot to do with their financial situation, because let's face it, unfortunately, we've got an economy that's completely built on asset prices. So who cares what your income is doing? Who cares what the job market is doing? Who cares what the employment picture looks like moving forward? And if you're going to get a raise, or if you do lose your job, it's easy to find another one. Who cares about that? Because my home value, according to Zillow, is going up by $50,000 a year. And we know that that's just going to happen indefinitely into the future. I think that's kind of the mindset that leads this survey to come to these types of conclusions. Hey guys, I'd like to personally invite each and every one of you to attend this year's Rebel Capitalist Live. This is the incredible conference I put on annually that helps you build a bulletproof portfolio. It helps you increase your personal freedom and liberty, and also it helps you increase the size of your network. In other words, you get to meet a lot of like-minded individuals, fellow rebel capitalists. It's in Orlando, May 23rd through the 25th. Past speakers have included people like Robert Kiyosaki, Ron Paul, Peter Schiff, Mike Maloney, Lynn Alden, just to name a few. So to get your tickets ASAP and to find out who is speaking at this year's Rebel Capitalist Live, you can check it out at rebelcapitalistlive.com. And just a little quick insider information, if you get your tickets sooner than later, you can get a discount, because as we get closer and closer to the event, the tickets go up in price. So don't wait. Go to rebelcapitalistlive.com right now and get your tickets, and I will see you in Orlando, May 23rd through the 25th.